Welcome to the Burnout Norman podcast, where we talk to leaders in the space of Web3, AI, and business in general. And today I have a very special guest here. It's Sagar Barvaliya, if I pronounce that correctly.
Yes.
And he's a really interesting guy. He's a venture capitalist in the blockchain space, has a fund, raising a fund specifically for blockchain startups, blockchain companies. We will get into this. He is also organizing ETHMunich, which is going to be a big hackathon here in Munich. And so I think lots to talk about, lots to learn about, how to develop a successful startup in the blockchain space, how he looks at them in order to invest. And so I think there's so much to unpack here. A warm welcome, Sagar.
Bernard, thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for the invitation. And I'm looking forward to the discussing about venture capital, about ETHMunich, and a bit more about like building the successful startup in Web3 ecosystem.
Sounds good. So, let's start from the beginning. How did you get here? You're from India. You now live in Munich, and you are a venture capitalist in the blockchain space. How does that happen?
Yeah, it's a quite interesting journey. So I come from India. I studied mechanical engineering in Mumbai. And then after finishing my bachelor studies, I moved to Germany 10 years back. Wow, time flies. It's almost 10 years in this September. So I'm spent like almost 1 decade in Germany. So I came to Germany for my master's studies. I did civil engineering from TU Dresden and then worked into Porsche and BMW as an external engineer. And yes, BMW got me here in Munich. So it was 2016. I moved to Munich from Stuttgart because I was working at Porsche, and then I got a good opportunity to work with BMW and I liked the city. So I decided, okay, let's go to Munich. And one of the reasons I moved to Munich was Munich is called as a private equity hub, sort of. For Bavaria is like one of the old money ecosystem. And also I like the city. It's very vibrant, very safe, very flat. So you can go with the bike everywhere. And that made me come to Munich. And fast forward, I also put my hands on startups and burned my fingers. So basically, you could call me like a failed founder. And since then, I never gave up. Sort of like, I tried the founder journey. Then I thought, okay, let's try the other side of the journey. And I learned for 4 to 5 years about venture capital, how to build the successful startups, how the venture capitalists do the due diligence, what to look into the founders, how to evaluate the businesses, and also like it's all about networking because venture capital is all about networking, and of course to become partner at Blockchain Founders Capital and investing in companies didn't happen overnight. It's a long journey. Like it took me like 5 years to reach to this stage, and of course, it's just a beginning. So I learned by myself going to the library. So thanks to LMU library, which is open for everyone. Okay. So I was going there every day, reading the Financial Times, and I basically took all the books which is written in English and which has like a corporate finance, venture capitalist, and anything which is related to business and management. I read all the books for 3 years before COVID. And we can go in details in
for sure. It's interesting that you read books, like you certainly won't read much blockchain books because it's moving so fast and they're not written yet, so to say. But in the venture capital space, there's some good stuff you can educate yourself on.
Yeah, sure. For venture capital, I would always recommend the book written by Peter Thiel, right? 0 to 1.
0 to 1, huh?
Yes.
That's it. Yeah.
Yes, really good book. And also I read one more book was like a Jugaad. It's writers are Indian, but Jugaad is like meaning is like it's a Hindi word, but the Jugaad means make it work.
Right.
So it doesn't matter how you do it. At the end, what matters is execution. Yeah.
So let's jump on. Like I connected with you on LinkedIn. The first thing in your bio is your Myers-Briggs type. What's that on about? It's very unusual, but I actually enjoyed it because a couple of days before I took the test myself. And so So what's that approach all about?
I think the people take the personalities very lightly, and which is not our society is not aware of it. But of course, I wasn't aware of it at all. My colleague Ben, he asked me to do this test before I started working with him. And the personality test is like not a red or green light. It just like gives you the sort of symptoms like who you are, because you are the one who are writing the test. Of course, you have to be intellectual honest and just answer the question. It's multiple questions when you are going through the test. So my personality, if you look at like I'm kind of protagonist, like a extrovert personality, where I have no shame or shyness to talk with the other side of the person. And my personality sort of, it's like a leadership where we don't play with too much emotions. Sort of like you are confident. So ENFJA is like a confidence, assertiveness, and very well educated people in terms of like handling their stress and emotions. And also you can judge. So that's my personality. But I think the personality is not like this one is your personality means you are good and bad. But it's like some people are introverts. So they get like introvert personalities. But there's nothing wrong into like a particular, when you do the personality test means you are good or bad. Just show you that who you are.
I was like, I took the test and I was almost a little offended because my type is assertive commander, and that seems a little, I don't know, who likes a commander? I don't know. But it's very fitting, and I guess there's some good sides to an assertive commander. How do you use that for investing, or do you use it for investing, this personality kind of types?
Yes, I think when you are investing in, so basically we are early stage venture capital firm, right? We invest in pre-seed and seed stage startups. For us, is important is like who is building, who is the executor. So basically, who is the leader, right? And most of the time, as I said earlier, like people take very lightly the personality test. But I think assembling a team and putting them together to make it work, it's really hard job. So personality test gives you like sort of awareness that who is introvert in your team, who is outrovert, who can be the good person at sales, because startup is all about sales. Where if CEO, for example, your founder who is going to handle day-to-day business in terms of like executive activities, and just can you imagine like if that person is introvert, how he is going to sell your product? So for us, very important is that we take the personality test for all the founders, or like a founding team. And that gives us lots of sort of like symptoms in terms of like how the team dynamic will work. And also Y Combinator also says that finding the good team is like a hell lot of work. So it helps you to find your team member, and also for the future hiring, it helps you a lot in terms of like if you're hiring sales guy, if you're hiring the CTO or developer or marketing person, then I think if you perform the test, it gives you lots of insights in terms of like personality behaviors. Also, it's a different trait. So we also provide our founders the tooling, where we have in-house tooling to perform the personality test. And then we also compare the results, and we also discuss with the founders that what is that person's or he or hers strengths and weaknesses. And then you can align with your team member.
I like it. Maybe one step back. What does your firm do? Like what's special about it? So it's the Blockchain Founders Capital. That's the VC fund. What do you guys do? What do you focus on?
Yes, so the name says it a lot, that Blockchain Founders Capital means first we invest in blockchain startups, and Founders Capital means we invest in founders. Basically, it's all about people, because normally you invest on people, not on the idea, because you can change the business idea, but you cannot change the founders or the person, right? So as I said earlier, it's a 15 million euro fund. We are going to invest in 30 to 35 startups in next 2 to 3 years. We have already invested in 8 startups. So basically, venture capital is also sort of entrepreneurial journey, because you also have to fundraise. So you can put founders and venture capitalists in the same boat. They both go out, try to become salesmen, right? So VCs normally raise the fund from HNIs and individual or family office and funds of funds, and then you deploy in the founder into the startups. So our focus is more use case driven Web3 startup. So we are not a fund who like to chase like a next fastest horse in the blockchain, where there are lots of sort of like a race to chase the project which will give you easy 100x. So it's a long-term fund. The fund duration is 10 years. We always focus on what startups are doing. So our thesis is very important that like, can this business idea become next Facebook or Google?
Okay.
So basically build the product which people want. And for us, very important is that if you're using the blockchain, then it should make the people's life 10x faster and 10x cheaper way, like easy life. And on top of that, whenever founders go outside to fundraise, they should not actively talk about crypto. They should not write at that or like we are a crypto startup. So we don't invest in token and cryptocurrencies. We invest in equity only. For us, important is that how we can get the next billion users on top of Web3 ecosystem in terms of like solving the real app problem. So that means like very simple example, like I would like to ask, like, can you live without Amazon WhatsApp today? Right? We can't live it. But if you look at in Web3 ecosystem at the moment, then we can live without Web3 now. Our life still goes on, right? So we are still on that stage where the people don't want it badly. If you remove like a Tinder or Bumble or Amazon or Instagram or TikTok or Twitter, people will have a really hard time, right? Because that ecosystem become part of our life. But we don't have that kind of tools or applications in Web3 ecosystem. Yeah. So this is what we focus into it, like where people want it badly. And also the people, when they use your product, they should not know or they don't need to know about blockchain, that how it works. Basically like tapping your credit card into in supermarket, we don't know about credit card, how it works. We just go to store, we put our credit card or our bank card and we just pay and buy the groceries, right?
Yeah, very interesting. So what do you see being built that could be this, we need this badly thing? Like what do you think it will be, or have you already your sights on something where you think, this has the potential to be this, we want this, we need this. Actually not we want, but we need this badly.
So I think if you look at the Web3 side, there's lots of trial and error happening. And so we go through like 2,000 deals per year, and it's getting more and more. That means there is interest. There's lots of young people and industrial veterans joining the Web3 ecosystem. That's a good sign. But of course, we're not going to invest in every business ideas because most of them fails, right? And we also, as an investor, we also have the like limitation. So we cannot fund every ideas. So what the Web3 ecosystem can disrupt heavily is creator economy, financial world, where you can, based on race or based on your geographical location, you will not be wiped out or left out because of the financial access, right? So basically, decentralized finance will be huge. Of course, today's decentralized finance, the way it looks like, it might be different completely in next 5 years, but it has the capacity because you are the owner. And the emotional angle, if you look at it in the blockchain side, it's like ownership. No one can take your ownership from you. If you are a content creator or if you are building something, you can always protect your IP right, because blockchain is basically like you cannot do cut paste, right? Because we did our graduation or master studies by doing cut paste. We can always remove something and add new thing, but in blockchain, no. Once you put it there, it always stays forever there, right? So I think we need to build the sustainable products by using blockchain where people badly want to use it. Either way, it's a creator economic side, gaming side. I think the gaming is one of the, also we look at the personally fund side, like half of our portfolio startup is sort of into gaming industry, but gaming is going to be $1 trillion economy, and in-game asset is not a product market fit question anymore. It's happening since last 20 years. You can always buy and purchase, but can you imagine like if you can move that particular avatar or your assets from one game to another one? That's a hell lot of work, but that's why you can always build on top of blockchain and solve this problem. And I always say, like, if it's easier, then everyone would have done it. So there's always enough nerds and smart people out there in this world that they are going to challenge, identify this problem and start building on it.
Yeah. Very cool. So, yeah, this is really interesting. Love this perspective. If we go deeper into creator economy, which is already very big and will be, I think, even bigger, where do you see, what kind of applications can you see there that could make this big difference, and what people just need to have?
Yeah, I mean, so creator economy side, so let's start with the music industry, right? So do you have any idea that if you are a music artist and if you're 1 million streaming on Spotify, how much money you can make it?
I think I have, because I researched it. I'm not sure if it's still correct. Is it $1,000 or something like that?
It's sort of like 4,000.
Or it's okay.
So,
It's much more.
Yeah, bit of less or more, right? So it's something with 4,000. So
1 million streams, 4,000.
So, and you're not gonna get it every week if you are a medium, semi-medium range artist, right? If you're a famous one, then you don't need to worry about earning your livelihood. But if you are not famous artist, then I think you cannot live your life, in especially in Western countries, right? With $4,000, and you're not sure when you will hit again another 1 million streaming, right? So most of the music rights are owned by labels, and there's lots of intermediary. Music industry is really heavily congested. It's really hard to monetize. But I think blockchain and tokenization part and protecting the IP rights has lots of potential. But of course, it's a hell lot of work, because when you are disrupting the industry, it takes lots of time, lots of efforts, and if you stay enough confident, then you can achieve it, because it applies in all the industries. So you can, by using blockchain and tokenization, you can directly interact with your fans. So basically, blockchain helps you to remove the distance between fans and artists. So we have invested in creator economy, like startups building on creator economy, like Beats and Talentier. Both are amazing startups. The Beats is in Germany, Talentier is in Austria, and basically they are identifying or like trying to solve this artist and fans engagement problems by using blockchain. We can of course talk in detail, but
let's go into detail. I think it would be very interesting for the audience to understand your approach, because many in the audience have a Web3 startup or think about investing, or either way, it's interesting. What's your thesis? What's your approach when you look at let's say let's take Beats, right? What is it, and what's your thesis? Why this is a good investment, and why this is a startup that might change something?
Sure. I mean, Beats, so whenever we look into any startup business plan or use case, or like when we are doing the due diligence, for us important is domain know-how. So both the founder of Beats are basically, they worked at Amazon Dark Music for years, and that clicks are directly that these guys have the domain know-how. So that's tick mark checked. Second thing, also we looked into like a pre-product market fit or product market fit. Even though their tech side product is work in progress, they successfully managed to get $500,000 or /euro in terms of revenue. So they're like the second tick mark box check. And also on the other side, like they are like a really resilient and self-aware persons that what they are building. And on the business case side, they are like solving the main challenge, as I said earlier, like removing the distance between artists and fans, where I think by using the tokenization and blockchain, Beats is doing basically where you can, if you are a fan, before blockchain, you could have never become part of artist success journey, right? So let's say, like, for example, you are a musician and I'm your fan, and if I would like to become part of your success journey because I'm a fan of your music anyway, but how about I can support you sort of by investing in your album or your track, right? So basically I can become part of, let's say, like you say to your fan, like I'm going to tokenize my 10% of that album, right? And your fans can have the first early access as an investor. So basically I will be proud fan where I like to hear your music, listen to your music, but I can also become a shareholder in your music. So let's say, like, if you become a big musician in next 5 to 10 years, I will be also part of that. On top of that, it's a sort of like a digital collectibles. I mean, you are a big fan of NFTs, right? So I don't need to...
I am.
I don't need to tell you what NFT stands for, but like basically, if you if you are as a fan, if you are a holder of that particular music, then you can get to access to the closed door community of that music artist, maybe early access to the next events and special treatments. That's already happens, but like you cannot become part of shareholder or part of success journey. So that's particular pain point Beats is solving. And I think as you are monetizing in the or disrupting the industry, especially with the music, it takes lots of time and efforts. But we are completely we are absolutely confident that it will happen.
Yeah.
Time.
Yeah, I've looked a lot into this topic also, and there's a video I never published, but like when I looked into it, I was so surprised that there's no social layer in music right now, basically, right? Like there's like you have Spotify and you have the end user and you just stream music, end of story. Like there's hardly any, like, why can I not post or exchange ideas with other fans, or why is not the artist every now and then jumping in, right? And so I think there's so much to be added in terms of this experience of having a music experience with other people that love the music, just like you have at the concert, and also with the artist. And so I think there's really a lot to be brought into this space.
I think one more point I would like to add is the removing the intermediary. So if you have the even hundreds of thousands or millions of stream on YouTube or Spotify, you cannot, or you don't get the data who are your fans, right? So there's like people use the Patreon and a couple of other platforms, but they are just donating to their favorite musician or artist or whoever that person is, right? So basically removing the intermediary only is possible via blockchain. On top of that, the very important part is that you can directly engage with your fans. So if you're, let's say, like 100,000 fans who become part of your music or like a track, right? You can directly interact with them. So Beats also provide this community management platform, and which is all like you can either way have the sort of like you can get access to that whole community. So you don't need to rely on Spotify or YouTube, because tomorrow they can ban you, right? And you are no one from. So
yeah, but not really. Like they're not gonna ban you. Like I get this argument from the blockchain community. You know, like this is where you can own it. I don't think the angle is, oh, you're in danger of being banned by Spotify tomorrow. But there's so many other angles that really fit into that. How? The one question I always have with this: how do you overcome network effects and just convenience? You know, like where the solutions I still see is it's just so much easier to use Spotify. Like how do you think they will tackle this?
So I think it's a really good question. So let's go back a little bit. Like, how did you start using internet? Did someone came to your home and teach you how to use how to connect your phone with Wi-Fi, or how to use internet, download the application? So what was your experience?
I don't know, but back then it was like this box. It was almost making sounds, you know. So, and you couldn't use the phone while being on the internet, right?
Yeah. So basically, what I'm trying to say here is that my point is, it's a network effect in terms of like making life easy. Of course, there's a UX UI should be very easy to use, and it happens word of mouth. So all the social media platform I have interact with, or like any application I have downloaded in my whole lifetime, is through friends. One person say, hey, this is cool, and I'm gonna try to use it, and that's how you monetize. So that's the network effect will happen in also Web3 ecosystem. But for that, we need to make the application which is people want, you know. So it doesn't matter how good your product is, if people don't want to use it, it's worthless. Like you can take the example of Clubhouse. In early days of Clubhouse, there was like millions of users for flooding, right? And then they raised also hundreds of $1 million. But in the early days, it was proper product market fit, but then people stop using it, right? So if you give the proper tools or application to the audience and they like to use it, then they will keep coming back, right? And if it's not, then you can always say like, okay, I'm closing my shop and moving ahead, because that's like a big failure. You can look at the Clubhouse or Theranos or like early days of Orkut. I'm not sure if you know about Orkut. Orkut was before Facebook.
Okay.
So when I went to university, I put my first step into university, and then the recommendation was like, okay, you should be on Orkut. So Orkut was run by Google, right? So that was social media platform. But the time Facebook came in 2008-9, I mean, Facebook were, of course, live, but then Facebook monetized heavily and everyone wanted to use Facebook, and then Orkut died, right? So, of course, before Google, there were so many search engines, but why Google had they are ruling since last 2 decades. So I think the important part is that how you make your product easy to use. And also in Web3 ecosystem, I see like it's lots of culture in terms of like community and decentralization. I'm sort of fan of decentralized, but I would suggest like try to solve the people's problem.
Yeah.
Then you will get it everything.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, just to add here, this community aspect, like it can't be overstated really. Like everyone always says in Web3 community, but it's just like, okay, you have some random fan that's listening on Spotify, but you have someone in a community, you know, that's like, I call it the Spartans of, it's like 100 times, 1,000 times, because they go out of their way to help, to support, to organize some stuff. And so I think there's lots to be gained for artists, which is really exciting. And so I would be interested, how do you envision the future? Let's say some of those things play out and we go 5 years in the future. Like, what do you think the creator economy could look like with those technologies being used?
Yeah, I think removing intermediary would be the big revolutionary in terms of like it's not only in creator economy, also in advertising industry. We invested in one startup called AirDash. They're based in Zug, and they're also trying to solve this congested advertising old school rules by removing all the intermediary. And in terms of creator economy, I think okay, let's say like you are not gonna ban right by Spotify or YouTube, but you can never have the data that who are your users, who are your viewers.
No,
that's only possible with blockchain. And people always say like it's money effect is always important. I think it doesn't matter. The people say like the money is not an important part of our life, but maybe they are not intellectual honest, because every move you do in your life is related with the money, right? If you are sitting in Munich now, then we need to pay the rents and yeah, right? So money is the important part. So let's say like I'm just a normal fanboy, but if for example, your podcast, right? We can tokenize your podcast, and I like your podcast to listen, but I have the visibility that your podcast is going to be like top 5 or top 10 in next 5 years, then why shouldn't I invest a little bit in your podcast and keep listening to your podcast? I will get some access to your personal network and your events, right? And other side, what I see like by using blockchain, I think blockchain is an amazing technology where I would suggest like 90% of the people even working in Web3 have no clue about how blockchain works. The tech side, right? Yes. Yeah. I could be wrong, but yeah, that's my assessment, where majority of time, like early days of any technological revolution end up as a speculation. I mean, I remember my parents used to tell me like, don't put our credit cards on any random e-commerce website. 10 years back, right? And if you go 10 years fast forward now, in today's world, we are comfortable to put our credit card and address on e-commerce website because we have built that sort of trust. So I think the trust brings the business. So that part, I think if we solve it, then it will be solving so many problems in people's life. And my vision says like gaming will be huge in terms of like in-game assets into trading, because look, it doesn't matter if we don't like, I'm not a gamer, but if you look at every millennials and Gen Z, they are spending most of their time on phone, right? And they like to play game, they like to do some content. If I would have tell my grandfather that, yeah, you can make some random funny video and put it on TikTok and YouTube and you can make lots of money, he would have laughed, right? But that's happening today. So what I see in next 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, where many businesses will be using blockchain, either way they want to capture the data for IP product rights or creator economy, On top of that, one use case I see on the Metaverse side is also, I know Metaverse is almost dead. No one talks about Metaverse, but on Metaverse side, let's say like I live in Germany, my parents are in India. I can order online some stuff for them. From here, I can put my credit card and then just the delivery guy will deliver to my place. But think about like how the e-commerce store in Metaverse look like. So basically, I will have my avatar, which is connected with my wallet or cards. I will go to the supermarket close by to my parents' home, and I will just put the drag and drop from the shelf of the supermarket, And at the end, I will do sort of checkout. I pay the bills. That will happen in Metaverse. So like a real interactive way. And then somewhere close to my house or go down or wherever they have the warehouse, these guys will deliver that groceries to my parents.
Okay.
So you don't need to scroll the page, but you can go with your avatar into that supermarket and just drag and drop your grocery or whatever product you want to purchase. That I can see happening in next couple of years.
You touched on it. Like let's take out the two buzzwords. So you have the metaverse. What's your opinion? Like for me personally, I think for sure it definitely is going to happen. And the question is just when. Like how do you guys look at the metaverse?
I mean, as I said, like a metaverse is almost dead buzzword, right? But that's the one use case I say previously is my personal opinion. As a fund side, when we look into any business plans or business case, we always look at like, is the market ready for it? So we don't want to be forecaster.
Yeah.
We don't want to predict the future. We always stay on the sideline, watch the market, what the market want. Market means like what the people want, right? And if, let's say like if they don't want to have metaverse and doesn't matter, you have like all full product ready, look at the Segway, right? We were thinking Segway, people will be having, every household will be having the Segway, but now it's like completely dead. So we always assess the business in terms of like whether market wants to use it or not, and then stay on the sideline and keep assessing every quarter, every 6 months. So we don't want to use any buzzword. We don't want to follow the hype. And that's why I think our fund and we put ourselves as an sort of Web 2.5 investor, because we don't do crypto token investment. We also don't want to go after this all fancy words of community and decentralization. For us, important is that what problems you are solving, what brings your product in terms of use cases, and we invest into them up to €500,000 in terms of ticket size.
Yeah, very cool. So the other big buzzword obviously is AI. How have you seen in the last month AI play a role in the blockchain ecosystem, and also the startups you support or you screen? Like what's the impact of AI there?
Yes, I think the cycle works itself, right? Every technological cycle works. I mean, for last 10 years, AI was dead. And I was reading the one article about SoftBank. They almost deploy $100 billion, and they have nothing to show because they just spun out, right? And the article says that they should have start investing into AI companies when they stopped, right? So again, if you're very early, you go out. If you're very late, then you missed out, right?
Yeah.
So it's really hard to predict that in terms of like where you stand in terms of cycle. Yes, AI is like completely hype for me in terms of like the way the funding is pouring into the startups, where majority of the funding is going to pay for their server bills, right? But why it become like talk of the town in last 3 months? Because last 10 years was like a building time, and suddenly OpenAI launched a ChatGPT, and it changed our life. So basically, again, as I say, like it's a product market, right? People love to use the ChatGPT, and you can you imagine like how many people going to be jobless in next 5 to 10 years? Just the beginning of AI. So it's a bubble, but there's already use cases, which we don't have in Web3 actually. So I could be harsh in terms of, even though I'm in Web3 very deeply involved, but that's a reality. You have to always assess yourself and see the reality. So in terms of AI, I think I always ask myself a question: if AI would like to do trading, which form they would do it? And then my answer comes that it would be digital assets like cryptocurrencies, because the AI would love, if AI wants to do the trading today or tomorrow in next 2 years, they will definitely go after the cryptocurrencies or digital assets in terms of tokenization. So in that sense, I think AI and Web3 can work hand in hand. But there's always like a buzzword you can always use to fundraise, where I'm sure you've seen the memes where all the crypto VCs going into the AI direction, right? But for example, like there's so many blockchain-based startups that are using AI since many years. Now AI become buzzword, but I think it's not a problem. If you are gonna use the buzzword and manage to raise the fund, it's not a problem. Do it that way if it works. So as I said, like jugaad, make it work, right? And what I see personally is that this AI cycle will also come to the end, but we already have the product market fit. And one more point I want to say on the AI and Web3 is also regarding the ETHMunich. So we are also going to hands-on little bit of special bonus track, right? Yeah, so we are working actively with TUM AI community, and we are talking with them how we can design the track by using Web3 and AI, where students and hackers can build some use cases on top of blockchain and by using AI.
So that's the ETHMunich. Is that like it is a hackathon for the Ethereum ecosystem, but you also bring some AI into it, you just said.
Yeah, so it's a EVM based hackathon. So basically all the chains which is built on top of Ethereum sort of, or EVM chains, right? And the hackathons are always sort of like a hands-on competition where you can just basically assemble the stuff and build something out of nothing, right? And so it is going to happen in August, 3 days, 11, 12, 13th of August at TUMunich Garching campus, and where normally in the hackathon you give the task to the hackers. Right? So in our case, we are expecting 200 to 250 hackers, and there will be like team formation, and then you give them task, and you give them the hacker manual, and hacker decide which one they want to build. So you can always say like agenda. So our agenda for hackathon is like one Web3 track where you can use the blockchain and build some real world useful application, right? Where you can actually use it. We are not going to build like so much on NFT collection or DeFi side, and right. So we will focus on use case driven, which could be any direction, right? And second one track is like AI and Web3, where so many students from TUMunich might not have exposed to the blockchain, but they are deep into AI. Cool. So they can just merge it, and they can build some application.
Very cool. Really exciting. So 11th till the 13th of August, coming up next month. Really exciting. Like as always, very popular events. Is there still some room for people to apply for hackers?
Sure. I mean, we just started application last week, and so you can go to ETHMunich.de and apply online. And one more thing, we have 10,000 plus euro in terms of bounty prize money. Ooh, so it's not just a hacker will come there and hack. Of course, we'll provide the food and refreshment. That's all free for hackers, and there is no tickets fees for the hackers. They just need to apply online, and we will send them confirmation, and then they will form the team at the ETHMunich, and if they win it, they can win up to like 10,000 euro in terms of bounty prize and prize money.
Nice location. Free food, free everything.
Good food.
Good food.
Yes.
Other people in the space, and you can win $10,000.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to be Solidity developer even if you are a beginner, but if you like to put your hands on coding, of course, the beginners are not, you need to have sort of like developing skill, like coding skill, but then you can join the event. Yeah. It's not that like you must be active in the Ethereum ecosystem. You can still join the event.
I love hackathons. Like I've only done a few, not in blockchain or anything, but it's so interesting to wrap your head around how can we actually solve something, how we put this here. And like in the beginning, you're, oh God, how is this working out? And then all of a sudden everyone pitches in, and then you build something, and you're actually pretty proud usually of what you've built.
Yes, and there's also a couple of proven examples. Like look at the 1inch. Sagar is the founder of 1inch. He's from Stuttgart, and he made his co-founder Anton in ETH New York, and they came up with the 1inch this DeFi aggregator business plan, right? Like the idea, they built the application, and now it become multi-million-dollar company. So that's also, if you ask me like what is the purpose of hosting something in Munich, is also like I wanted to do this since long time. And I think conferences are good for talk, right? But there is no execution. So I'm not saying conferences are bad, but if you bring these young talented guys together and give them platform to build something new, they will definitely come out of something. And on top of that, Munich is a really beautiful city. We have good Bavarian food, and TU Munich is one of the best university in Europe, right? And so the word should go out really stronger. So we should make lots of noise from Munich that in terms of Web3 ecosystem, Munich is not behind.
Yeah, no. Yeah. And there's lots of stuff happening for sure. So I just want to come quickly back to startups in the Web3 ecosystem. What are the mistakes you see most often? What are common mistakes where you say, hey, startups, get this right. This is important. Is there something where you just come across as you screen so many startups, right? What are some of the common mistakes?
I think founders should dive more in terms of what they're building. They should do enough market research, or at least identify the customers or sort of like competitors, right? And I'm not saying that you cannot do it, but have enough information what you are doing, right? And it's good to be confident, but also always evaluate the reality. And in terms of building a successful startup is a hell lot of work. It's not so the most of the time founders think it's a linear growth, but which is not. It's exponential growth. So from pre-seed or bootstrap startup to become a unicorn, you need to grow 2 times every year. So you have to grow every year 2 times, like double the growth. So let's say like you have 100 customers this year, you need to have 200 next year, and then 400 and so on. So it takes like 5 to 10 years to build a successful startup, and where founders will go through like so much pain, stress. There will be like a good moment and bad moment. The only thing important is that what you're building, who are your customers, and it's good to say the startup world and venture capital looks fancy industry, but which is not. It's lots of work and lots of pressure to perform in terms of generating the returns for your shareholders and also for the founders to make their investor happy. So I think the founders should be focused on what they're building. They should not go away left or right. They should be focused in terms of what they're building. And one thing is very important, product market fit. Doesn't matter what you're building, just be realistic that how much revenue it can generate in next couple of months. Who are your target customers? Would they keep paying you? Do they want to pay you for your services? If not, then you're doing something wrong. So I think that's a very important thing. And one of the also important thing is like writing and sales. The founders should always focus on sales because it's all about sales. And founders should be open to talk with everyone in terms of networking, because network effect is very important. And that's also takes me back to my personal journey, where I think even being an engineer and end up being a venture capitalist is it took me from engineering to venture capitalist because of my networking skill. Because you need to keep talking with people, and if you most of the time I encounter the people where they always ask like, what is in for me, for example, right? And they don't see the long-term greed here, right? So in terms of networking and sales, I think they should always think longer term, 3 to 5 years. Like think about like if you are early days like of Elon Musk, you are hanging out with him, or Zuckerberg, or any Silicon Valley based early days startups, unicorn founders. Can you imagine like how much pain they would have gone through? But think about if you would have helped them, or if you would have accompanied them, right? Like the story would be something different. I mean, you hang out with so many famous people, right? But it's not, it doesn't happen overnight, right? It's a long term. So I think the founders should focus on building the product. The rest can wait.
Yeah.
The rest can wait. And important part is also like 2 most important thing is assembling a team and also getting the right investor and having the diversified cap table, because having a team and having an investor is sort of basically you are getting married with these people. You will be spending most of your lifetime with these guys rather than your wife or family, because you will be building everything. The investors will be calling you, and your team members will be coming to you with so many different inquiries and queries and problems and successful news, right? So that part is very important. And I think monopoly also plays the role.
Yeah.
So if you're building the product, how hard is it for other people to copy, right? And also you don't want to follow your competitor, because if you follow your competitor, right? So let's say like my competitor is you, and you launch the product, then I'm gonna copy paste that product. But in meantime, I will launch my product. You will launch your other product in next 3 months. So don't try to chase your competitor. It's good to keep in radar, but focus on what you are building and focus on customers. Then the rest of the part is just noise.
Cool. I think that's really good advice. Thank you for that. To round this out, I usually ask 2 questions. I borrowed them from Tim Ferriss, a famous podcaster. And so the first one would be like, has there been anything where you changed your mind about it lately, you know, where you had to rethink, our thesis didn't play out, or maybe like, was there something where I said, let's rethink this?
Sure. I mean, that's come back to the self-awareness, right? Or checking the reality. So if you look at my career journey, I choose like electronics and telecommunication in first year of my bachelor studies. After 1 year, I moved to mechanical engineering. Then I did my master in civil engineering. I was in Paris as an Erasmus scholar, spent 6 months at a research institute, and I worked on the aeronautical side, so aerospace. Came back to Germany, wrote my thesis on completely different topic. Worked in automotive industry, even though my background is not automotive. So it's good to go from one place to other place if you don't like it. Even you look at my startup side, my startup journey was that, okay, I was too much confident. I started building on e-commerce, superfood health startup, online, offline e-commerce store. And then I realized that, okay, I cannot scale it, right? So I said, okay, now there's something happening in Web3, so let's put your hands on. But you need to assess it, like, will it harm your reputation, or you don't want to be like a springer, you know, like jumping from one place to another one. You have to give enough time. Even though I was not happy with my work, I stayed to the corporates for almost 5 years, because you don't want to be really hurry. So you can take decisions in a slow time, but always trust your judgment. And you should know you should have the visibility. Don't take the crazy risk in your life, but always take a sort of asymmetric risk, as the value-based veteran venture capitalist says, right? I'm sure you heard that.
The good old asymmetric risk.
Yes.
Everyone would love it. It's just hard to figure it out.
And I think just try to make it bigger, because you got one life. I might be sound a little bit philosophical, but that's how my life journey stands for that. Like, I have applied to I reach out to 500 plus VCs on LinkedIn to get into the venture capital industry, and I didn't succeed. I think I got like a 0 answer, right? But then you still make it in venture capital, means you are coming from India, you're living in Germany, so you have to put your effort 2 times more than if you would have born in Munich, right? But I think at the end, if you are mentally convinced and if you are doing the right thing, it will fall together. It will come together, everything. So I think just hang on what you're doing, and you need to believe what you're doing. You can always listen to the advice of other people, but they're just for giving you advice.
Yeah.
I think you could be the best one for yourself to assess yourself, that what you want to do, what you want to become in your life. And for me, it's just a beginning, because I wanted to become venture capitalist. I became now, and now I wear the big shoes, right?
Yeah.
I have to perform as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to.
Very, very cool. Last question, Sagar. So if you had a big billboard that would be towering over Munich or someone back home, what would it say? What's a message, a short, sweet message or sentence you would like to pass on to people?
Yeah, I would say believe in yourself. I think so many great people said the same word, but yeah, I think it's you. So I would write believe in yourself.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Makes sense with everything you said so far. Really cool. Thank you so much. Where can people find you online? Where can people get in touch with you for your fund, for the ETHMunich?
Sure. I mean, I'm quite active on social media, so I'm active on LinkedIn and Twitter. You can also put the link in bio. But on LinkedIn and Twitter, I'm Sagar Barvaliya, so like my full name. And also our website is bfc.vc. So any short and sweet, yes, and easy to write.
VC.
Yes. So we are also online application platform. They can, if there are startup founders raising fund in Web3 ecosystem, they can apply online, and we go through each and every application comes through our online, inbound, outbound applications. And for ETHMunich, the domain name is also easy, ETHMunich.de, so all together. And for any founders, for your viewers, if you are building even in Web 2 or Web 3, if you want to discuss something with me, or the macroeconomy is very messed up at the moment. So if you have any doubts, I always do some like in-person meeting or video calls. Of course, like I'm happy to support the founders. That's why we call also Blockchain Founders Capital. So you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or Twitter. I will be happy to meet you guys if you are in Munich. And if you are somewhere outside of Munich, we can do always online calls. So yeah, at least I can help in that sense. Yeah.
Very approachable. Sounds good. Thank you, Sagar. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Bernard, for having me, and thanks for the invitation.